What's this knob do? No one had to properly atone for anything back then.
What is up, everybody? Opti here again on Hammer the Effin' Basics here. This is going to be episode 6 of the Effin' Basics tutorial. What this is for the very, very, very basic Hammer editor user. So this stream of tutorial specifically is aimed for people that are using Hammer for the very first time. And when I mean first time, I practically mean the first fucking time. So, with that in mind, and with the previous tutorials in mind, we've already got our tutorial map here. I've already loaded it up, obviously, as you can tell, and we're just going to jump right in. Today what we're going to be focusing on is adding a ladder to get to the upper floor of our room here that we've created. We're going to create a ramp as well on one side of the room to make a ramp instead of a ladder. On top of that, we will add a little bit of water, and we'll talk about the camera, point underscore view control entity. And what that does is at the beginning of the match, you can set a specific area for the camera to point at. Like right here, right now, how this is pointed right here, I could have an entity saying to keep the start camera pointed right here. So when you start the level, it'll stay right here. But we're going to jump right in first. We're going to start creating a ladder. Make sure I'm selected on this area here. So as you can tell, we've already got our room here. We've got our 3 spawn zones, our 1 light that we've created from the last tutorials, our 3 flags, the 3 trigger areas that marker the flags, and the roof here, or the room, sorry, not the roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over, also our main tools that we're going to be focusing on here are our select tool, our camera tool, our entity tool, our block tool, our toggle texture application tool, and our apply current texture tool. We might get into the, and the clipping, obviously. The clipping is going to be in this as well because we're going to be creating a ramp. So what we're going to do is first go over to our block tool. We'll select our block tool. Then we'll go to browse. We're going to go down to the filter and type in no draw. And like I said in previous tutorials, the filter is where you're going to type in anything that you want to locate the textures that you're looking for. Most of it is relatively there. But we want to have a ladder going on this face of the building here. So I'm going to select all 3 of those faces just so I can get that ladder the right length in height. Once I've got the ladder, I make mine 32 to 64. There's a specific dev ladder texture that you can use that shows the exact measurements for ladders. But I like to have my ladders, always like to have my ladders at 1 unit in width. And ba-bam. Oh, that one actually looks a little thick here. Maybe I was wrong on the unit measurements. I think it's 48 is what you want your ladder size to be. I mean, if you're like really anal and whatnot. Okay. So this right here, we're going to turn this into our ladder texture. So we'll go to browse. First, we're going to type in dev into the filter. We'll scroll down until we find dev /dev underscore measure ladder 01. We'll double click that. We will click our toggle texture application tool. We can right click the face of the ladder here. And as you can see, it'll say 24 by 16. So we can go in here and instead of changing it to 48, we can go down to 24. Ba-bam. And then we've got a perfectly fit texture. If you wanted to change that another way, I will show you in another tutorial on the toggle texture application tool specifically. We will go over every little detail on the toggle texture application tool. But for right now, we'll just continue creating these things. So like I said, do the right click on the texture there, kind of stretch it in so that way it looks like a legitimate ladder. On these right, left, and top sides, you're going to see that it has a no draw texture. We'll just go over this measure generic 01B. Click our toggle texture application tool and right click those no draw faces there that you can see from the map. We don't have to worry about the behinds or the underneath because we're not going to be seeing those areas. So this is our base texture. This right here is just decor. This actually doesn't do anything whatsoever in game except for look like a ladder. The way that we make the ladder is I'll go ahead and zoom my grid all the way down to 1. So we're going to be on snap-on grid 1. I will hold shift and the left mouse, drag it out, and bam, that makes a copy. So now that we've got the copy there, and I explained that in the previous tutorials as well as how to make a copy. But once we've got the copy there, we're going to go ahead and type in ladder. And then once you type in ladder, you'll see this orange texture that says ladder on it. We'll go ahead and select the ladder texture here, and then we're going to apply it to the entire block. And the way that we do that is we just do the apply current texture, and that's going to do it to every face of this block. The reason I do it to every face is to let the game know that this is going to be a ladder part. So anytime that you try and climb any side of this, you're going to be able to climb it. This is the easiest way to create a ladder. This is also the way to create ladders in Day of Defeat Source without having specific points that you have to get on and off at. If you wanted to have a specific point that you got on and off at, that would be completely different, but we will not go into that right now. So that's done. We have a ladder. Now if we render that in game, we can climb the ladder. Next, we're going to focus on a ramp area. I'm going to move this ladder actually over to the right side of the building here. Okay, let's see. Ba-bam. So it's going to be on the right side of the doorway. And then we're going to put our ramp on the left side of the doorway. So we'll go back to our texture browser. We'll type in no draw. And make sure that we have our block tool selected, obviously. And we'll zoom out in our top view. That's my favorite view to start with, or to work with. BEV, bird's eye view. I'm going to make it 208 by 256. And then for the height, I'm going to make it the same height as this building right here. So that way it'll go directly up to the building. Once we have our box, we'll hit enter. Now, this is where some of the clipping will come in handy. Since this is the side view, we can tell that this right here is one side. Technically on this screen, it's going to be the front. Let's see, this direction is the front, and then this direction is the side view. So on the front view, we're going to go down here. We'll select our clipping tool, or you can hit Shift X for those of you that like hotkeys. At the bottom left corner of our block that we just created, we'll drag and drop some vertices all the way up to the very top right corner where this wall meets here. So if you can see in three-dimensional view, it is just a clean cut all the way across. Then we'll hit enter. And with the clipping tool, the red portion of the object that you have selected is going to be the part that is deleted. So the white portion is the part that is kept. So if your portion is red on the bottom and white on the top, you can click the clipping tool again, and that will change that. If you click it a third time, it will keep both sections, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we will delete the top portion. And voila. That's literally it. That's making a ramp right there. We're going to go to our texture browser again. We'll go back to dev. We're going to texture up the dev ramp. We'll go down to measure 01B. Right click that. Then we'll grab the orange wall and we'll right click that. Bam. So there we go. So now we have a ladder to get up on top as well as a ramp to get up on top. I don't think that this roof is going to be tall enough, unfortunately, so let me change the height of the roof here. Alright, now that I've changed the height of the roof here, we should be able to get up there once we get inside of game. Be careful on making your ramps too inclined. The more inclined it is, the harder it's going to be for the player to get up the ramp. And on top of that, if you make it too inclined, you start developing what's called a surf map, where you literally just glide across the tops and bottoms of these. But now that we've got that here, we're going to go ahead and add another block area. We'll just do the no draw tool. And this is going to be our little water area. So I'm just going to create a very small block. This is super easy, super basic. This is mainly just looking through your texture browsers. Where the hell is the thing at? Okay then. It did not create a block. So if you noticed, when I started creating that block, it said 0 on one of these matrices here. Yeah, right here. It says 0. So with it saying 0, it's not going to create anything whatsoever because it believes that it's an empty block. So I'll have to select a different block and then go back in and then try and recreate another block here. But for this little pool area, we're going to make it 48 units tall. We're going to make it 256 by 256, and we'll stick it right in the middle of this. We'll pull it out for right now. So what we'll do here is we're going to do a copy of this. So we'll just hold shift, left click, drag, unclick, left click, and then hold left shift. We will drag it in, and then we're going to just adjust the vertices here. So that way on the outside we have 16 units. And what we're going to do is we're going to carve out a wall here. So if I hold Control, hit Shift and C, it's going to carve this out. You'll notice this changed colors to white. If I hit the delete button, it's going to delete that inner area that we had and leave us with the outside walls. However, I don't want to do that quite yet. I will pull this inner area down because that's going to be our water. We'll select everything. The way that you do that is you can select one object in your select tool, hold Control and select another object with left click, and that will select both of those objects, and you can move those at the same time instead of individually moving every piece, which gets super fucking annoying. Alright, now that we've got this here, we're going to go ahead and add the actual water. So we'll just type in water into our browser. As you can see, there's a shit ton of waters. These are areas that you can play with. For me, myself, I'm going to use just the first, let's see. We'll use the second one, dev_water2_cheap. Alright. We'll open our texture toggle application tool, and we're just going to click the very top face of the area that we want to have the water. In this case, it's that inner area that we use to carve out the outer area. Then we'll go up to this little drop-down menu here. This is going to give you a list of some of your previous textures that you've been using and were using in the map. So I'll just click this dev measure generic 01B. I will right-click the innards of each of these here, and then right-click the outside portions of each of these. That way, that no draw texture is fully covered up here. Because, like I said in previous tutorials, anything that has a no draw texture on it will obviously be not drawn. We'll go back to browse, type in dev again, and we'll scroll down until we find dev/gray grid. We'll just right click the top of these here. Alright, now in my personal experience, whenever you add water to a map, we're going to have to add this entity called the water LOD control. So we'll go over here to our DOD control point master. We'll just make a copy of that below. Double click the copy. Go to where it says class and type in water. With that being done, it should come up with water_LOD_control. We'll just click that, click apply. Don't worry about any of the settings here for right now. Don't necessarily need to worry about that. However, that's just going to make it to where the water doesn't necessarily, well, I don't even really know what it does. I just know that it cleans up the map a little bit and optimizes it a little bit more. Makes it to where you don't have as many issues, or at least for myself. I wasn't having as many issues when I added this as to when I did not have this in my map. Alright, so now we've got the water, ramp, ladder, we got our people, we've got our flags. The last thing to do is we're going to set up that little camera that I was talking about. To where when you spawn into the map, it's going to show like a pinpoint location. You can kind of show off something. You can hide a room, something along those lines. So we'll just drag and drop again. We'll copy and paste that water LOD control. And you can put this anywhere in the map. I'm just going to put it right here. I'm going to go into the class, and I'm going to type in view. And if you type in view, it should bring up two entities, env_viewpunch and point_viewcontrol. The one that we're looking for is point_viewcontrol. Once you have that, you don't need to do anything with the name, any of the hold times, any of those things. You can just click apply. But for the yaw, pitch, and roll, if you wanted to specifically point at something, you would click the yaw, pitch, and roll. I like to use the point at. It will directly allow you to point it in the exact direction that you want it to point to. I'm going to do the second flag here. Hit apply. We're going to X, and then ba-bam. So now if I were to add 7 more Axes spawns and 7 more Allies spawns, we have an official running map on Day of Defeat source. This would be usable for game servers, gun game, whatever the hell that you made your map for, you would be able to use it. So, with further ado, we're going to go ahead and render the game, go into the game, check out what we've got so far, and then that will cut this 6-series tutorial here, or this 6-episode tutorial. This is the 6th and final episode on the FN Basics. So, let's go into the render. To do the render, we're going to hit F9. I like to just keep everything on normal since this is going to be my final render, or at least for this version of this map. I'm going to click HDR. You can have it not run the game after compiling. You can set additional game parameters. I'll go over that in later tutorials for more advanced users, but this is just starting out. HDR is going to be, can I remember what HDR means? But I'll put that into the video or the description, something along those lines. We'll click OK, make sure it's all on default. This one should render relatively fast. It's going to render Day of Defeat source here, or it should pull up the game. Alright, now as you can see, the camera view right now is currently in the direction of the second flag. It's in the area that we put it in, and this is the very start of the map. Now, this is the last thing that we did. This is the point_view control. Now if we go in and let's say we're going to select the American Army. There we go. So we've got our inner room, and it's going to be laggy as fuck on the screen there, so super sorry about the recording. But we've got our inner room. We have our light with our advanced, or not advanced, but we have our light with our changed brightness and luminosity. If we go out here, we have our skybox that we personally changed here from the default skybox. We have our 3 flags, each of which are capturable. Let's see, we'll go to this one, but bam, I don't want to win the game quite yet. Here's our water that I was talking about. Right now it doesn't really look like water, it just looks blank. But obviously if you get inside of it, you can see that there's water. Now this is the cheap water. The cheap water, this is pretty much what this means, is it's not going to really look that good. You can play around with the water textures that you currently have there, and you can get better looking water for your maps, obviously. Here's our ramp, so we'll just run up this here. Ba-bam, now we are on top. And if we go down again, we're going to get onto the ladder. And this is the one with that ladder texture here. There's no entities. I didn't tie any entities to this. It's literally just a texture. And ba-bam. And that works. And you can do it from the side. You can do it from either side. You don't necessarily have to have the ladder texture on both of these sides here like I had in Hammer. You can actually make that whole block a skip block. And then just the very front face have that orange ladder texture. But the ladder works, ramp works, we've got our flags working. Let me capture this last flag, and this is going to be the end of the tutorial series here. So thank you very much for anyone that stuck through all 6 grueling episodes of this beginner tutorial. I super appreciate it. Stick through with us. We're going to be doing some advanced Hammer tutorials, so that way we can go from beginner to advanced. Get you guys set up on how to do certain things in the map. We'll go over certain entities, etc. So this one's been a long one, but thank you very much again for sticking with me. Y'all guys have a beautiful day. Like, subscribe, drop a follow. I don't know. Do whatever you guys want to do. Thank you. Y'all guys have a good one. Opti out.